First thing I want to talk about, Harjeet, is this Herculean task that you did this past month, which was you're running 1 day, 1 kilometer first day, 2nd kilometer the second day, and then all the way to the 30th kilometer on the 30th day. So first of all, congrats, because I know how much of a mental effort that is, let alone a physical effort. People might think, oh, physically it's tough, but it's the mental side that's actually harder. From someone who obviously not running as much as you, but I do run a little bit, so I know a bit. But yeah, we'll go through. Why don't you go through that?
Yeah. So the 30-day challenge is, I call it, this is the only 30-day challenge that I know of, and that's what I call it because one of our other good friends, Isaac, he did this a couple of years ago, and at that time I was sort of still in my early ages of running, and so to me, when he did that, I'm like, dude, you're insane. Like,
it's insane.
What? Like every day you're gonna run, and every day you're gonna run 1 more kilometer than the last day? Like, that's just so brutal. And having done my first marathon not too long ago, I took a pretty substantial break, like about a month from running, and I wanted to get back into it. And so I thought back to this running challenge. I'm like, am I ready for this now? Can I physically do this? And can I mentally endure this? And so I started it. Day 1 was super weird, just running 1 kilometer. I didn't even make it around the block once.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. And so I did that, and it just kept going. It kept building up. But very quickly, I realized that the hardest thing about doing this challenge is not even the physical part, but how do you fit all this running time into your schedule?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. And so I would say, like, because I was running slower, I'd say like about day 17, day 18, I needed to run about for 2 hours a day.
Right.
And then you add getting ready and getting like taking a shower and stuff, maybe twice a day, depending on how it went. And yeah, it was rough. That juggling with work and then juggling with friends and other activities, it's just like there's just not enough time.
Yeah, that's why you didn't go on a bike ride with me the whole month, right?
Yeah.
But that's an interesting part, because the people don't think about the logistics of a task like that.
Yeah.
I guess from day 10, it was probably like at least under an hour, so it was fine. And then once you get on, how do you feel now? Like, what was the most difficult part in terms of recovery?
Honestly, I end up being a little bit lazy with recovery, and so I haven't been stretching as much as I should have been.
Right.
And that's probably why I'm experiencing a little bit of patellar tendonitis.
Yeah.
But in terms of recovery, my body is pretty good. There's usually like a few days right after a big event where, it's sore, but it kind of subsides rather quickly after a couple of days. So recovery wise, I mean, the suggested thing is to stretch and roll and do all of your necessary things that, your physio or whatever sports therapist has provided you with. But I found that taking like a nice long hot bath is a huge help. And that's what I was doing sometimes during my marathon training.
Right.
After, during the later stages of my training, I was doing 36, 34, 38 kilometers, and I was running a much faster pace because I was going for a specific time. Yeah. So my legs were definitely much more taxed after these runs, and coming home to a nice long bath just released all of that pain and made the recovery process much nicer.
Nice. Yeah, and obviously your running progress has been super impressive to see, and I'm proud of it as well.
Thank you.
What do you recommend for people who might be, starting off, can't run that much, or, thinking back to when you just started your running journey, and what advice would you give?
I would say start off slow. Running fast is awesome. It feels great, but there's a good chance you're going to injure yourself really quickly. My first injury is partly due to running too fast, too long, too quickly. Originally, when I first started running, I'd probably run, about 15, 20 minutes at a time, just on a treadmill. Very, very, straightforward. And I think I was aiming for about a 6-minute or 5:30 pace.
Yeah.
And at that time, my goal was to do a 50-minute 10K.
Right.
So that's a 5-minute pace, and nice round number, pretty good. That's a really good pace for especially someone of my running capabilities, and I guess height as well takes a big part of into it. But during that period, I was training for this thing. I ended up doing an 8K, and it was, I forget what pace I was doing it at, but it was my first 8K I had done, and I didn't stretch the day before or the day after or afterwards, and I had a big hike.
I remember this.
And the hike involved a lot of steep steps and steep climbing up, and what happened on that hike was because I had used my legs so much, and because I'm still getting into it and getting my body used to that much running, my muscles were sore, they were tight, and as a result I ended up getting an IT band injury on that hike. So very, very sharp pains on the left knee, just right in this corner here. If I bent my knee not so much, it would be okay. So I kind of just like hobbled my way back down the mountain and back to the car.
Yeah.
But definitely that week was brutal. It was, I couldn't really do anything. And so that was the first time that wasn't the first time I went to physio. That was the sort of like second injury, or I generally had, that I had to go visit a physio, first running related one. And ever since then, as I've pushed myself further, I actually ended up with the same injury on the other knee. So there's definitely a theme with how my body works and how it responds to drastic changes in